Growing up, an underestimated first-generation Mexican-American daughter, two immigrants, our guest had a dream to give her family a better shot at life. And wow, she has definitely realized that dream and inspires founders around the world to realize their dreams too. An ideal guest to help us celebrate the 200th episode of the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow, everyone. Woohoo! Woohoo! And welcome to the 200th episode of the Startup Life Live Show. Oh my gosh, I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I know firsthand what challenges you're facing and the high levels of uncertainty that you are walking through every single day. And I am in awe and wonder of your tenacity, persistence, resilience, and courage as you build your startup. I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune into the Startup Life Live Show and up your founder game, because as you do better, that's right, your startup will do better. A big yoo-hoo and thank you to all the viewers and listeners helping us celebrate the 200th episode. Gosh, I am so grateful you're tuning in and sharing your celebratory glow. Your presence means the world to me, and I know you will love this conversation. But for, the past 999 episodes and all the episodes coming to us in the future, you add wind to the sails, not only of the show, but to founders around the world. And speaking of founders, I am sending out a big old love hug to all the featured guests who have joined me on the Startup Life Live Show. Your founder and funder journey, stories, strategies, insights, and inspiration are helping folks around the world maximize the joy and minimize the heartache from their startup journey. So I'm so grateful for your time and presence. Folks tuning in, be sure to click the like button and share this video or podcast in your social feeds. It helps us reach and positively impact more founders around the world. And how do you know whenever I post a new show? You jump on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group. That way you'll get a deep dive into the guests that I share every week. It's so exciting. Anyway, let me just go ahead and bring our phenomenal guest into the room. It is the one and only, the amazing Lolita Taub. She's a general partner at Ganas Ventures, where she invests in pre-seed and seed community-driven companies in the US and Latin America with a mission of creating generational wealth in community. With 15 years working within the Silicon Valley ecosystem, she has accomplished over 70 million in sales and made over 90 investments as an angel investor. She's also a scout at Lightspeed Venture Partners and a VC at Backstage Capital in the Community Fund. Lolita is also a co-founder of proprietary matching tools beloved and used by founders everywhere: the Startup Investor Matching Tool, the GP to LP Matching Tool, and the LaaS community. That's right, Lolita as a Service, which brings along a community of over 4,000 founders and funders and ecosystem friends who love Lolita something fierce. Let's not waste another second. Let's bring Lolita into the room. Yay, Lolita Taub!
What an honor, and congratulations on 200, Ande.
Oh, thank you, Lolita. It's just, seriously, following you, and thank you for joining me on the show, following you on Twitter is pure joy. You are constantly, generously sharing so much great advice for founders and for funders. Really, I'm just so thrilled that you could join us today. Tell everybody where you're hailing from right now.
I am hailing from my office that has a really big teddy bear over here, and maybe you might see my puppy out of San Diego, California.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm just going to say hello to just a few folks. Just no fall. You are the best. Thank you for tuning in. And Steve, thank you for always adding wind to the founders and to my own wind sales here. And yay, Ruth. Everybody, this is our wonderful community manager from Nairobi, Kenya. We love you, Ruth. Thank you. And Lily from Scrubia, so happy you're here. And Kevin, oh my gosh, Kevin, what you are doing in the world is so remarkable. I'm so grateful for your presence. And Gabe, yay, this is great. And Gail, Lolita, these are just so many wonderful people here who are doing remarkable things in the world. And look who stopped by, everybody. Yep, you know what we have to do when Mia's in the room. We always have to bring up her podcast. That's right. Always tune into the Shit We Don't Talk About podcast with Mia Voss. It's amazing conversations that you wish you were having with folks, right? So good. And Allison Byers, thank you for coming by and saying hi and cheering us on in the 200th episode. Oh my gosh, she's the founder of Scroobius, folks. And you know how much I love Scroobius and how they help founders with human first fundraising. Go to Scroobius, sign up, use the code Andy15. This is the best way if you're raising capital. Nobody prepares you better than Scroobius. Oh, okay. Now that we've got the glow on for the show, Lolita, let's talk about you because, you didn't just show up one day, just glowing away, right? There was something that called to you to be that kid who wanted to change the trajectory of your family's future. There must have been some kind of fire burning inside of you and gave you that determination to go to USC and, get your master's and pursue building community in the startup ecosystem. Go ahead, tell us everything. How?
I think that would take a really long time, but it is true that it's been years to get here. And I think that's the secret, not so secret for everyone, that underneath all of the one day of happy success, there's so many others. I've been, inspired really by my parents. I think if you ask me, what is it that has driven me throughout my life? It is watching my parents do what they have done for the benefit of their family, for the benefit of their community. My parents immigrated from Mexico to the US so that their children could have a better life. And watching them leave their families behind, living by themselves in the US and South Central Los Angeles, working factory jobs. And my dad actually worked the fields for some time. Seeing the struggle is real, but watching them persist and always wanting the best for our family, that's what's really motivated me. It's continuing the hard work of those that come before us. And what else but to live a life where you're creating value that helps you live a better life, but also those that you love and those in the community.
Oh. That's beautiful, right, folks? That's yeah. Let's just do a quick Andy-licious moment for that because we're just taking in the love of Lolita honoring her parents. Absolutely, thank you for sharing that. So then, why entrepreneurship? Because a talented, bright, amazing woman like you could have been picked up by a Fortune 500 company where had plenty of assets behind you and 401k plans. Were you that kid that was hustling in elementary school, or did you happen to fall into entrepreneurship and fall in love with entrepreneurship?
I did end up starting off my career at IBM and Cisco, so I did go down that track. But when I was little, I would do things like make paper earrings and sell them in the neighborhood. And I was always trying to come up with different projects. I remember in school, I had a couple of newsletters going. So the newsletter thing, the magazine thing started from way before. I have always had this creative spirit. And in fact, when I was at IBM, I was doing sales at the time. And I told my boss, I think I should do a YouTube show. I think it would be so great. This is 16 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It would be so great. Yeah. And he said, do you want your job? Because corporate will not allow that. And so, there was always this wish to push innovation forward. And that's why I had gone into technology. But to your point, Andy, my family had struggled so much that I really did want the security of a check. I really did want insurance, health insurance. I'd never had health insurance. I did. And going into it was one thing. But in it, I discovered it was actually, I was doing a sale into a Native American tribal community for Cisco at the time. And I met a tribal chief. and he inspired me to think about who I was serving. And when I looked back and I went to my office, it was a bunch of white middle-aged men, which is not a bad thing. But I felt that my heart wasn't really excited about supporting them as much as it was about supporting our community and seeing what else was out there. So I did this show called The F Show. I interviewed 100 women founders and found these incredible tech founders that were struggling with money. And this was just a different world, going from corporate to startups and exploring what this world was like. But as soon as I saw that women were struggling to get capital for their businesses, I said to myself, this is it. This is the community. This is the tribe that I must serve. And then as we started peeling the onion back, we saw that it wasn't just women. It was people of color, LGBTQ, all of the above. And that's really what inspired me to say, I want to become a check writer. I'm going to become a check writer. And then 7 years later, I have my solo fund. So
and this is the beauty. I just got to get the pom-poms out for that. That's incredible, because this is what is so wonderful about your representation is the time that you have put into this, interviewing so many founders, having that conversation with the chief. This is, every overnight success, folks, right, is decades sometimes in the making. And you were building up, as Arlen always talks about, that lived experience that was going to feed your passion even more and give you even a clearer North Star for the extraordinary work that you're doing in the world today. So I'm also curious, how you landed on Twitter, because folks, we know in the startup world, Twitter is a wonderful benefit and platform for us. It's really helped us meet so many great people and have incredible conversations and amplify each other's work. But what is it about, when you went to go and build community, you followed one of the best of role models of women, and right, Monique Woodard, and she ended up offering you an opportunity at Lightspeed as a scout. So what is it about Twitter's platform that spoke to you as a place to build community?
It really actually didn't.
Oh, okay.
It didn't at the beginning. I was like, what is this? Another platform.
I love that.
And I grew up in the days of Facebook. People don't use Facebook anymore. I don't use Facebook as much. But what happened is, as I went into the world of startups, everyone had Twitter. And as I was meeting with people who I admired and I wanted to learn from, and I would say, what's the one thing I should do that could really help me build my path into becoming a venture capitalist, into building my own fund? And I got this consistent be on Twitter. And so I gave it a try, and I didn't even know how to use it. At first I was like, well, I guess there's these bots and they can give me the news, or maybe that's what it's for. I didn't really know what it was for. And then I had another mentor, Mark Sister from Upfront, and he said, Lolita, you need to curate your wall. You need your feed, and you also need to think about how you're using Twitter and the access that it provides and all this. And he got me thinking about it on a more strategic level. So, and then I realized, like, LinkedIn, I loved LinkedIn before that. I came from corporate. Mm-hmm. But the thing that has always been a limiter is that on LinkedIn, you have to be opted in. You have to be approved. You have to this. In Twitter, you can connect with anyone. And the truth is that if you are consistent and put out the value that you can create, you attract the right people.
That's
and
right.
For me, it became one of these, I can't, at the time, 7 years ago, I can't write checks, but I can share knowledge, and I can start giving where I am. I can start building where I am. And that's what I did. And years later, I am sure to tweet at least once a day. It is my second home. I love Twitter. Who knows what happens now with Elon Musk? I am kind of thinking like, but
it's going to be curious. I think Darcy and the team are going to come up with another place in space for us to go to. I think they've got something in beta, and I think he's happy to be doing it again, only the right way the next time. Because think about when Twitter was founded. I'm wondering if that's maybe his first company, Jack. I don't know. But I found too that, having conversations on Twitter became easy, and following someone like you, getting into the feed. It's never usually about the influencer or the luminary. It's the conversations in the feeds. And that's where you can get great information and stay in touch and connect with people. I want to bring up a quick comment here from NoFall. a phenomenal founder and investor and mentor in the world. And he says, this is a milestone. Your passion to do this 200 times is an example to the entrepreneurs that you have to keep doing what they love, to be where you want to be. Aw, thank you, No Fall. I really, really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate your advice, Lolita, about beginning where you are. Let's talk a little bit about that. Because as founders, or on you with your North Star to be a check writer, like that is such a great goal. But where does one begin, right? To get those relationships, get those funds in, et cetera. Where you began, what did you see the landscape for you as, and how was it? What were the lily pads that you would be hopping on to get to that? I'm going to be able to write a check for that business from my fund, not someone else's.
I wish I had okay, so this is the plan and here's what we're going to do. First, but it wasn't that. I didn't know what I didn't know, like many of us when we start something, but I knew what I wanted to achieve ultimately. Yeah. And so I just kept asking people for opportunities to learn, for opportunities to volunteer. I first got into investing by volunteering at angel groups, by just putting in the work and saying, can I ask you questions? Why was the due diligence this? Or how does this work? And why does it work? What are the alternatives of funding? Because venture capital isn't for everyone. Right. And there's all of these nuances that you need to learn about. And I think it's wonderful if you do have the opportunity to learn from those, to get opportunities where you can get your hands on, roll up your sleeves and just do the work. And so I was working an operator job and volunteering as I was learning. And eventually it became one of these things where I started to see that there were gaps in our community. Again, this is something that I identified with the F show, where women were having a hard time getting capital. Now with this broader view of what was happening in the ecosystem, where 90% plus of the investors are white males investing in 90% plus white males, and understanding all these different dynamics, I started thinking I want to share what I'm learning. Right. I want to learn publicly. I want to build publicly. And that came learning about this big pipeline problem people really love to talk about, in terms of, the VCs would invest in founders of color or women or LGBTQ if there was only a pipeline. And I said, okay, let me take this challenge on, and built the Startup Investor Matching Tool, which is a tool that connects, and a platform that connects investors to underestimated founders. And we have a network of 900 plus investors. We've made introductions to over 4,000 founders. Our founders are there. That was the whole point. And I couldn't write checks at the time. So again, it was starting where I was, doing what I want. And now to date, we've seen over 60 checks written with a value of over 8 million. And so it was all about learning, filling in some gaps, and then really realizing that everything that had brought me here was community. And my approach to it from a sales business perspective, but also as a human, and honoring and leaning into it. If anyone is thinking about starting a fund, I do really believe that the fund should reflect who the partners are, who's leading the fund. And for me, that was really important, because that's why you go and launch your own fund, because you don't see what you want to exist.
That's right.
And this is a more inclusive place.
Yeah. And you've done a brilliant job. And by adding value to the community with your matching tools, folks, hop onto Twitter, Lolita Taub. It's right there in her header. Everything you need to know. Get her, Lolita's wonderful newsletter. Subscribe to it. It is the best information you're going to receive on a Sunday evening, is when I usually get it. It's just filled. I read everything from start to finish. It's wonderful. You will benefit from LaaS community. Lolita as a service. I love that. And, having been in the VC world myself for 30 years and seeing nothing change, even when we see all these wonderful female partners at VC firms, folks, often they do not have the check writing capability. The white male at the head, and that white male can have all sorts of good intentions, but they're going to go with what they're used to. And the other challenge we have, and we hear way too much, is, oh, we've already met our minority agenda, what our quota for the year. And it's like, what's with this minority stuff? So how was that when you started navigating the landscape and having the volunteer opportunities and working as a scout and building your community? What was it like navigating that landscape as a Latina?
It was really clear that the world wasn't made for us, and that my friends, any of us who were working together, we'd share stories about how we were told how we didn't fit in for XYZ reason, right? And this is why I believe that it's so important for more of us to be building companies and funds and to support each other, because we see the opportunity that the status quo Silicon Valley didn't. What happened with George Floyd really catalyzed a lot of activity, some well-intentioned, some it was, just lip service. But what happened there opened up these conversations of, hey, maybe funds should look at, and maybe there's more of a focus on having diversity in their portfolio companies. But the truth is that after so long, we have started to hear, even as a fund fundraising, oh, Lolita, we're not investing our diversity allotment for a fund. So the same things our founders are dealing with, we are dealing with, as well as fund managers raising. It's this, we don't have that allocation. So the problem persists, but this is more of the reason why we need more check writers.
That's right.
Out there writing checks for our community.
That's right. And so instead of setting up an angel group, you set up Ganas Ventures, VC fund. Why? Because, VC comes with a lot of sticky connotations that people aren't really fond of. Vulture capital, for example, it's a branding that happens. Funders just go, oh my gosh, I just gave away half of my equity for this deal. Why did you go venture versus angel fund?
Angel investing, you need capital, first of all. So I think that's the short answer.
I think that's a brilliant answer. Thank you. That's for the cash out entrepreneurs. Yay.
But in order to change the game, in order for us to have those bigger funds, write those bigger checks, support these wonderful, incredible founders in our ecosystem, I personally believe we need to be the check writers.
That's right.
And for us to have an inclusive industry, it's not about saying, oh, well, it just doesn't work. For me, this is the industry, in my opinion, where in my lifetime I can make the most impact, right, make the most money, change the most lives. And if that's the case, why not go into this industry? Believe me, I mean, when I signed the docs for Ganas Ventures, I know I'm signing my life for 10 years at a minimum for Fund 1. And this is a lifetime career. So it's not a small, promise or let's try something for a bit. You have the fiduciary duty of creating more capital, creating more value for your investors. And because we know this, I really wanted to take the opportunity to build a VC fund that I wish existed when I started. One where the LPs, the people that we're taking our money from, are representative of our community, because people don't talk about this as much, but the investors in the funds typically are also 90% white male. And so for me, I believe that if we bring a more diversified LP community, founders, all of this, if we build this ecosystem together, and I'm not the only one building this, right? There's Arlen Hamilton, there's a Backstage, and she was actually she was the first person to give me a VC job in the US. And so this is what we need, more of this. And yes, it doesn't mean no angel investing. If you have the money and you can angel invest, you do it. Yeah. Right now, building a fund, I'm just like bootstrapping two guys.
I know. It's true. It's true, especially when you have the filter that you're using. Because sure, you could pull up some money here. And who was it? I can't remember his name, but he just set aside $400 million and put it only into Black-led VC firms. And that's great. That's wonderful. Allison, okay, now this is, do you follow Allison, Lolita? Because if you don't, nobody voices VC world better than
I know Allison.
Byers.
Her name is familiar. Hi,
yes.
Allison.
LP diversity is critical, as well as visibility into how their capital is being allocated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something else. And you started to set up, and we wanted to do a scorecard, Lolita, because we and everybody's like, oh, yay. But, I want to say, you said this on this date. Where are you at? Yeah, 0, fat 0. And on implementing those wonderful initiatives. So for you, being able to be the check writer, and thank you for being so honest in the fact that, look, you don't have 20 million hanging around to go and be an angel investor, or even $1 million to be the 25K angel investor. So yeah, you needed to raise a fund. How has it been trying to bring those diverse funders in? Because LPs, and private equity funds, et cetera, like, how have you been able to find them and get them on board? Because it's customer acquisition time, folks.
Yeah, everything is sales. So
Right.
at the end of the day, I think it's all about exchanging value for value, right? Our thesis at Ganas is very particular, early stage community driven companies. So the first thing is that people who understand the value of a go-to-community strategy are the people who are going to be interested in Ganas Ventures. And seeing the way that I've consistently worked, for me, our LPs come from the community and are building the Ganas LP community as we speak. Because we are a micro fund, we're targeting 10 million. We're a little bit over 4. Thank you to all of our first believers. And we are working towards bringing in individuals who are community driven as well. Right. So we're building all together, and that's who we're attracting. And it's not all easy, and the market hasn't been easy for anyone. But here's the thing. You got to persist. You got to have that grit. Mm-hmm. And that's why we named Ganas Ventures. Ganas means to be ride or die, to be persistent. And we always remember that's what we expect of us at Ganas, but also from those that we back. And so it's such an honor to be in this position, albeit the challenges, to be able to work on creating a fund that doesn't look like what the status quo has.
Exactly.
And we want to prove that we can literally create generational wealth in community.
That's right. And also, we love seeing that a woman is at the helm, right?
There you go. Latina owned, 100%.
And we know from the stats, everybody, and I know Allison can speak to this as well. When you look at the venture capital stats, everybody, white male, big chunk. And then we have our Black founders, Asian founders, et cetera. And then not even on the bell curve are the Latina VCs, and this is why it's so groundbreaking what you're doing. And I love, love, love the meaning of Ganas. When you go and have an initiative like this, and this is what Arlen talks about in her book, this just steady as you go, being committed every single day. This is your North Star. It is, you are doing the representation of what you talked about for so many years as an influencer and a founder advocate on Twitter and everywhere you glowed. So what is the investment thesis for Ganas Ventures, and why did you choose that as the type of startups you wanted to invest in?
Mm-hmm. Well, from the start, my background is squarely in sales, and to get a little nerdy about it, right? Our investment thesis, pre-seed seed community-driven companies. Now, why community-driven companies? If you look at how we've gone to market in the last couple of decades, you'll see this evolution from selling to the C-suite to selling to the department leaders to selling to users, PLG, all this sort of things. And now I believe we're in the era of community, where we actually think about our customers as community members of our companies that are helping us build with what we call the community ROI, whether it's with revenue by buying our stuff, right? The lower CAC, customer acquisition costs, because you have a community that's helping you promote, and longer lifetime value, because there is actually a alignment, and you don't think of a company as just a company, but part of a community that you belong to. You have an ROI, right, for operations. So retention, talent. It's so much easier to source talent when you have a community. And then I is for insight, which when you're just getting started, especially in the early stages, you need feedback from your community. And what better way than just to be transparent and say, hey, community, what do you want us to build? Because we're solving this problem for you. Help us build, co-create with us, and let's be successful together.
It's one of the best ways to launch a business, folks. And take StreamYard, for example. From the day they launched out of beta, November of 2019, every single Sunday night at 6 p.m. PST, they have a town hall for 30 minutes. They have not missed it in almost 3 years, Lolita. It's how they built community, just phenomenal. And it really helps folks because now, and that's why crowdfunding can be such a great way, because you get people who love you and what you're doing involved, and you can get those important pieces of feedback. And folks, if you're sitting there going, LTV CAC, what? You know what to do. Hop on over to my YouTube channel and watch my really fun video called How to Calculate the LTV CAC Ratio. I talk about what the heck is LTV, what the heck is CAC, and why do we care about this ratio? It's key for your business. And, newbie founders, you're learning so much every day. Go watch that video. It'll show you everything you need. That's brilliant advice. Thank you for that. And I'm so happy that's where you're focused, because yes, it's your background. So it's in alignment with who you be. And it's something that, really these communities that are building, I believe, have a greater chance of success, right?
That's it. That's it.
Bottom line. And so what 3 tips, or your top 5 tips can you give to founders that you believe will help them raise capital in a way that might create a successful outcome for them?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Ande, that VC can be vulture capital. And when that happens is when founders go and get venture capital when they shouldn't. A lot of the time. It could also be that there's some bad actors. There certainly are. But the number one tip I would give is first, think about your fundraising strategy. First, why are you fundraising? What do you need the money for? And does venture capital really make sense? I actually wrote a post on this because it's so important to first find out, should you even raise venture capital? There's a lot of different options. If you do decide that VC is the path to go, then tip number 2 is to do your research on what funds align with what you're building and what specific investors you would like to work with, because the specific investors will be the ones that we can help you or not. You now know my background, but if you wanted, for example, to build a biotech company and you wanted capital from Ganas, maybe this isn't the best fit because we don't know anything about biotech and we don't invest in biotech. And then the third thing would be to build relationships. This is a people business at the end of the day, especially when we're just getting started. So being able to understand whether there's a vibe and it works, because we're going to be in this for a really long time if we invest as VCs, that you actually like us as humans.
It's a marriage, folks. I mean, you got to get along with your investors for quite a while before you have an exit or an IPO or however things evolve. So I love that advice. Something fierce. Quick question from No Fall. Is Ganas purely check writing due to the lack of representation, resources for the community? Does Ganas guide the companies with leadership coaches to guide them to grow, build, and sell?
Well, that is I'm trying to understand what, I see. What do we add value in?
Right. So like visible hands and
we are not
Ventures.
an accelerator. So accelerators are really wonderful. They actually have programming and you go through different modules. Venture capital can look a little different in different models. So as a venture capital fund, what we offer is really raised around the community. So we have a platform of over 75,000 founders, funders, and friends. We share that. We have a network of over 900 investors for fundraising. That's really helpful. We have 80 plus partnerships with products and service companies that can where we have like over $600,000 in promotional codes and things like that, so you can build. And then you have us and me. I've been investing for the last 7 years. Yeah. 90 plus companies under my belt. This is my second community-driven thesis fund. So being able to support from a community-driven company perspective is absolutely something that I want to do. And outside of that, there's just so many other different things that we have going. For example, we have a mentors program where we have our mentors, we have over 150 of them. These are for our portfolio specifically, and they represent over 50 sectors and 20 business functions. So we definitely lean on the power of community to bring that value to our portfolio companies. But we don't have an accelerator or training.
No, that's wonderful. And
community.
And what does success look like for you, Lolita? What does, there's success how it was over the last 7 years. There's today, and I know it'll have a different look in a few years from now. But today, what does success look like for you, and how are you measuring that?
Yeah. I mean, tactically, I think we're all trying to figure out what's happening in the market. What are we going to do? Right now, number one is getting to our $10 million target, which will be proactively fundraising again starting January. So if any of you are interested in talking, let me know. We want to have a representative community in our LP base. That's one, because we need that capital to then invest in our portfolio strategy, where we are aiming to invest in 75 companies. And so that would be also part of success, to be able to fundraise, to be able to back 75 companies, and to be a community-driven fund that shows that being community-driven is the differentiator, is the way to succeed.
It's a beautiful, delicious differentiator. Seriously, I love it. Something fierce. I would like to, if you don't mind, I just want to do a quick giveaway. Do you mind participating in the giveaway? It's going to be Arlen's book. And
awesome.
Yeah. And I just, we've got a great group of folks tuning in today, and StreamYard gives us this wonderful ability to spin the wheel, so to speak. Okay. So let's do a drawing, everybody. 20th episode giveaway. Who's going to be our winner today? Woohoo! Oh, me. Great. I got to draw again.
You get it back, Andy.
That's what happens. But, this is the beauty of being able to do the wheel a few times, so we can get, yay, Alicia Overton. And you just in time. So let's do a quick yay. Good job. Thank you so much for that. Yay. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining me and helping me celebrate the show. And that's right, Alicia. Woo woo. It's so wonderful. I'll get your information, or Ruth can grab it from you in the community there. But, again, you are beloved. We want to see that 10 million happen as soon as possible, folks. Whoever you know who would meet the criteria for Ganas Ventures, please reach out to Lolita. You know people. Everybody's just a handshake away from making this happen for this wonderful, wonderful funder. And I'm excited to see you writing checks. I'm, again, grateful for your time and presence on the show and helping me celebrate the 200th episode.
Yay! Well, happy 200, Andy. Thank you so much for giving me this huge honor to be here with you to celebrate, and everyone else who joined. Thank you so much. Thanks for the comments and the questions.
Oh, great. Well, we'll be, reaching out to you as always and following you everywhere you go. How to follow Lolita, everybody, will be in the show notes. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable. You're really out there making incredible things happen. Thank you, Lolita Taub, for joining us on the Startup Life Live show.
Thank you so much. Bye, Andy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Oh my gosh, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for this incredible celebratory event. And thank you. Yay, Gail. And thank you for tuning in and joining us, and congratulations. And thank you, Gabe. I know 200 episodes. It's like, what? The time flew. And I'm so honored by all the stories that have come in. And yep, that's right. No fall. Go, Alicia. We love that. Anyway, let me just share with you who's coming up next on the Startup Life Live show. This incredible woman out of Zurich, Switzerland. Her name is Pauline Coble. And Pauline is a gender lens impact investor and a leading innovation expert in developing and emerging economies, with over 20 years experience in international affairs and venture philanthropy. She's the founder and managing partner of She Equity, a fund providing smart investment to impactful, innovative, and scalable African female-led and owned businesses. I hope to see you on Friday. Now, today was a later time at 1 p.m. Friday's going to be early because Pauline is in Zurich. So it's going to be at 11 a.m. ET. A lot of bouncing around. I'm usually here at 12 noon EST. Tuesdays and Fridays, sharing founder journey and funder journey stories with all of you. I'm so grateful that you tuned in, and yay! Your presence really means the world to me, and the support that you give other founders, and you're sharing the show and sharing other founders' stories really helps the startup ecosystem around the world. You know that when you step into your founder seat, there's nothing that prepares you for it. So when you're in it, only other founders are going to really be able to relate to what you're going through. So we're all in this together. And I'm so grateful that your presence continues to add wind to the sails here. And viewers, I just want you to please promise me this, okay? And listeners, please promise me this, that you'll remember you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter, as we say here in Boston, wicked smarter than you think. And you've got this. I believe in you. And be sure to reach out and ask for help. It's so important for your journey that you say, hey, I need help, because we're all here to help each other. Thank you so much. Thank you, Richard O, for tuning in. You are always here, and your glow means the world to me. I'll see everybody the next episode or in the startup ecosystem. In the meantime, go follow Lolita. I'm telling you, she has everything you need to succeed as a founder. And I'll see you the next time. Let me just grab the old exit music, and mwahs to all of you. Cheers.